Yes, now we're live.
All right, we're live. So welcome to the April meeting of the Irvington Planning Board. My name is Michael Smith. I am sitting temporarily here tonight as the chair. Our permanent chair, Cesar Manfredi, unfortunately can't be with us, and we look forward to him being here at next month's meeting. As usual, we have here at the meeting Sarah Palermo, who is the gatekeeper, Ed Marin, our building superintendent, Doug Hahn, the village consulting engineer, Mary Ann Stekich, the village attorney, and the members of the planning board, Laurie Davidovitz, Dan McGillicott, and Mike DeFuco. First order of business is the minutes. Have we reviewed the March 1 minutes of the planning board? And do we have any comments? No. Okay. I have a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor? Approving? All right, the minutes are approved. Tonight's order of business is as follows. First is 50 Half Moon Lane. Second is 58 Bardsley Avenue West. Third is 19 Matheson Park. Fourth is 3 Gray Rock Terrace. Fifth is 33 Osceola Avenue. Sixth is 11 Dunham Place. And 7 is 202 Hermits Road. Just to note, although 11 Stearns Ridge is on the agenda, it will not be heard tonight. So first up is 50 Half Moon Lane, 2021-20.
If you're here to represent the application, if you could please hit the raise hand button, please. Is there somebody here representing 50 Half Moon Lane? If you could please hit the raise hand button. I do not believe they here. Yeah.
3-second roll.
No one's raising their hand to speak.
Okay. Why don't we come back to 50 Half Moon Lane and move to the second on the agenda, 58 Ardsley Avenue West. Matthew, you're muted.
Yep, I'm here now. Thank you.
Okay.
I will share my screen. Okay, good evening. Matthew Behrens representing the applicant Todd and Karen Greenberg. This is for an application 33 Ardsley Avenue, sorry, 58 Ardsley Avenue West. I'm showing the site plan. This is the application is for a new deck. There is an existing deck in the general vicinity. Let me see if I can blow this up. Bear with me. So you can faintly see the outline of the existing deck and the stair that is here now. That deck is going to be removed and replaced with a larger deck. It's going to be at the same level. We're basically just extending it out slightly. I know that based on the calculations that were done for the lot coverage, that there are some coverage issues. Keep in mind, please, that this is a undersized lot in a large lot zone. It's a 40,000 square foot zone, and it's about a 25,000 square foot lot. So there are coverage issues that we will need a zoning variance for. But we are within the setbacks, and everything else is within the zoning resolution. The requirement is just basically for the way the deck was added, it's a little bit small, plus where the stair is, it kind of cuts off the circulation. So making the stair sort of tucked in parallel with this part of that provides a much nicer and much more usable area for both grilling and eating and also hanging out for the family. And that's really the driver behind the application.
Lori, do you have any questions?
Material wise, are you replacing it with the exact same materials?
No, the existing deck is a wood deck. It's been painted. Part of the problem is just to take a look at the orientation. The deck is on sort of the north and west side of the property, so it doesn't get a lot of intense daylight. So there is some drying issues. So we're going with a composite deck. We're going to keep the framing that's there. We're going to add another line of headers and footings for the extension, but it will be a composite deck. All the finished pieces will be composite.
No other questions?
Dan,
I have no questions.
Mike,
No questions.
and I have no questions. I think it's pretty straightforward. You've seen Doug Hahn's comments.
I have, yes. They seem to be fairly easily addressed, so I will reach out to Doug and get those squared away. It was mostly, lack of a better term, procedural, just kind of add a couple of some information that may have been missing on the drawings and the application that just need to be cleaned up.
Actually, so one question that I had was, are you doing any digging by machine or is it going to be hand digging?
It's all going to be hand digging. The only digging that's going to be required is for the 3 new footings. And they're only, 3 square feet.
I believe that we have a resolution, Marianne.
Yeah.
Yes. Second.
Oh, are there any comments from the public?
No, nobody's raising their hand to speak and there are no comments in the chat.
Caesar Braves.
Whereas in March 2023, Todd and Karen Greenberg applied for site development plan approval to remove the deck and replace it with a larger deck on their house at 58 Ardsley Avenue West, which lies in the View Preservation District. And whereas the proposed deck requires a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals for coverage, and whereas Hun Engineering reviewed the plans and in a memorandum dated April 3rd made several minor comments, and the planning board held a public hearing on the application on April 4th. And whereas the proposed improvements would not negatively impact the view of the Hudson River from neighboring properties. It's a type 2 action under SEQRA and therefore requires no environmental review. Now therefore be it resolved, the planning board grants the application for site development plan approval for the improvements reflected in the drawings entitled Greenberg Residence prepared by Matthew Behrens, architect. Sheets are designated, subject to 1, receiving a variance from the ZBA for coverage, and 2, complying with Han's April 3rd, 2023 memorandum.
Do we have any questions about the resolution?
No questions. No questions.
Do you have a motion to accept the resolution?
Motion to accept the resolution. Seconded.
Lori, how do you vote?
Yeah, approved.
I
Thank
approve.
you. Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, good luck at the ZBA.
Thank you.
Let's see if we could go back to 50 Half Moon.
Yes, he's raising his hand.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello, I'm John Watson from Insight Engineering. Nice to meet you all. I'm here for the Desai property on 50 Half Moon Lane. I'm sharing my screen. Can you see my screen?
Not yet, no.
No.
Okay. Okay, give me a second. I just did.
Okay, we can see it.
Excellent. So we're here tonight for amended site plan approval. This project was before the board last year for the complete tear down rebuild of a house. We were at several meetings with your board, developed this site plan, which is currently under construction. And the reason we're here tonight is for an amended site plan to add a construction trailer, temporary construction trailer at this area at the front of the property. Currently, the existing driveway is in off at the northern end of the property up here. We're going to keep, we showed to keep that as a temporary construction access during construction. That's being used right now as a construction access. And there's a little office trailer for the contractor up here in the front of the property. And we're here to just process a amended site plan for that temporary trailer.
So what's
Is-
going on here?
Is that the only change?
The other change was in the back of the property, we have a stormwater infiltration system that was designed, we prepared a SWIP and the town engineer reviewed it. What we did is we changed the connection location for that and we shifted it slightly so that we shifted just some of the drainage components a couple of feet side to side. And we also relocated the sewer service line connection to the sewer in the back of the property. The information that we were given for connection points to existing water and sewer, for existing sewer and stormwater were not exactly accurate. So there were this plan reflects the actual conditions of the existing points of connection. So this plan shows that those changes to those utilities, but the sizing and the overall concept for where we're putting the stormwater and the sewer are the same. The plan's just been reflected to show exactly where they are in the field.
Doug and Ed, is that our understanding?
We're okay.
Okay. Can you enlarge the plan just to show us where the construction trailer is proposed to be?
So as I said, this here is the label's cut off now, but right at the top, that's the existing driveway that we're using as a temporary construction access. And right here is labeled proposed construction trailer. This is where the location is. We actually had our surveyors out there for some stakeout, so we actually survey located it. So that's the exact location of where it is right now.
Do you know whether from the street you'll see the trailer above the fence?
You can see it a little bit. Yes, there's still existing landscaping here. And then on the southern side of the property, there's a lot of vegetation, but you can see it a little bit from the street, but it is it's quite screened, but there are places where you can see it.
Did you
But I think-
consider another? Did you consider another location for the trailer?
We didn't. That was the most logical because it's out of the way of the construction activities and it's up towards, where some of the contractors are parking their cars. So there was already off-street vehicle parking there. And in order it is a pretty narrow lot in the house. As you can see, the house takes up basically the full width of the lot. So as far as staging around the house, we really couldn't get it much lower. And then there's a line that says TP here. That's an area of tree protection. So there's construction fence there right now. This whole upper area was nicely wooded and we kept that as not disturbed through construction. So that area is completely out of the question. And this area here was where the new driveway is going to go. So we didn't want to put it in a place that would impact the proposed driveway. We wanted to put it somewhere where we could set it up and leave it throughout construction.
And one final question, how long do you anticipate the trailer being there?
I don't know, but they're already up out of the ground. It's framed. The roof will be going on shortly. So I would think by the end of this year, I would expect it to be gone.
All right, I have no further questions. Laura, have any questions?
So I just want to clarify, the trailer is not there yet.
No, the trailer is there. The contractor did, and we did not know that we needed a site plan approval for a temporary construction trailer. So that's, our fault, the contractor's fault. So it has been already set up and it's in place.
Okay, it's your plan says proposed. So,
We put this in as as a site plan. We thought it would be best to just show it as a proposed like to show it as existing I don't think that would convey the message that we're trying to get an approval for it if it's existing.
Yeah, that's how we do it.
okay, thank you. No more questions.
Sure.
Dan?
In the trailer itself, you have electricity and
Yes.
air conditioning too, I imagine, or
Yes. Yep.
some type.
Yes.
Okay. No further questions.
Okay.
Mike?
No questions.
All right, I have nothing further. Mary Ann, do we have a resolution? We need any comments from the public?
No, there's nobody raising their hand to speak and there were no comments in the chat.
All right,
Whereas on November 3rd, 2021, the planning board granted site development plan approval to Laxman Decide to demolish an existing one-story house and pool and replace it with a new two-story house and pool at his property at 50 Half Moon Lane. Whereas in March 2023, applicant applied to revise the site development plan to alter the approved drainage structure and permit a temporary construction trailer on the site. Whereas Hunt Engineering reviewed the plans and in a memorandum dated March 31st, 2023, he had no comments. Planning board held a public hearing on April 4th. The action is a type 2 action under secret and therefore requires no environmental review. Now therefore be resolved, the planning board grants site development plan approval for the construction reflected in the drawings entitled Desai Residence prepared by Insight Engineering. The progress as-built survey prepared by Insight Engineering and the proposed residence prepared by Tassos Koukouris. Subject to removing the construction trailer before a certificate of occupancy is issued.
so we provided for it to be removed before the C of O is issued.
That's
Did you hear
fine.
that?
Yep, that's
Okay.
fine.
Any questions on the resolution?
No question.
No questions.
No.
Motion to accept the resolution?
Motion to accept.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
unanimous? All right,
Thank you very much for
You're
your time.
approved.
Appreciate it.
you're welcome.
Good night.
Good night. Number 3, 19 Matheson Park.
Good evening. My name is Natasha and I'm from Okochee Architects representing the application for 19 Matheson Park, seeking a revision to the previously obtained planning board approval. Can you guys all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, all right. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. And then I see some new faces, so I'll do a brief overview of what we had proposed and what we changed. All right. All right, can everyone see the screen
Yeah.
with the drawing? Okay. Okay, so, yes. Okay. So we had previously submitted and obtained planning board approval back in June of 2021 for similar scope project with an addition to the side of the existing main building on Matheson Park
Can
and
you
also.
enlarge that? Can you
Yep,
enlarge that?
absolutely. Okay. So, and I'll scroll through to this larger site plan sheet, which will make it clear, more clear, but this is the main body of the building, which had an old garage that's attached with a mudroom breezeway. And the previously approved project was similar in scope, where we were adding a new garage and connector to the main house with cabana for a pool and relocation of the pool to a more user-friendly layout for the new family. Subsequent to obtaining the approval back in June of 2021, we obtained the zoning board approval, and as part of that, had to reduce what we were requesting for coverage. And following that, given what the climate was in 2021 with erratic schedules for lead times for materials, as well as prices being really out of hand at that time, given everything that was going on in the world, the client opted to pause on getting further approvals and also on pursuing the project at that time. When we revisited the project to get it moving forward, the client sought to simplify some of what had previously been proposed as part of the plan to make the rear yard more adaptable for what might be different needs for their family, which has 3 young boys and also an older son who's in college. And so in addition to that, we sought to make some changes to the floor plan of the building itself to make it more flexible for their needs, both for young children, but also aging parents that they might want to have at some point join them there to kind of facilitate care. I'll scroll to one of the larger scale plans. So this was our analysis, with our view in respect to different neighbors. And then also our coverage analysis comparison to neighbors within our same zoning district. Right, so here is the plan for demolition, in which you see the portion of the building that was proposed to be removed, the existing driveway configuration, and the existing pool that they haven't been using, and which is part of what's scheduled to be demolished. And then we'll scroll through. Right, so here is the proposed plan, amended from what was previously approved. And as part of what we've done, again, we simplified some of what was happening in the rear yard, where we had these discrete landscape rooms. But in order to achieve a lot of that, there was complicated stepping in the garden spaces that required various retaining walls and layers of stairs. And we sought to, based on feedback from the client, simplify some of that so they have greater flexibility in how they're using the rear yard space, whether they're entertaining with other adults or entertaining, groups of children. And the orientation of the pool, which we shifted, whereas previously we had it going parallel with the length of the building, we made it perpendicular, so it gives more opportunity for adult supervision while children are active in the pool, and also still maintains space for other activities. In addition to the site changes that were done in the back from what was previously approved, the layout of the addition portion was reconfigured slightly to, and I'll scroll through to a larger plan that'll make some of that more clear. right. Oops, too far. So again, this is the existing portion of the house here. That ends here at this corner, and we've bumped out a bay, and then to the side of that. Oh, right. So to this side here is a cabana, which would be on access with this terrace that serves the pool and provide visual access for any adults that might be at the property to keep an eye on things, whether they're in the building or outside in the yard. And then tucks the garage into the side, so it creates a privacy buffer since they're on a corner lot that's exposed on 3 sides. A nice privacy buffer for the pool, and also helps to establish the pool fencing barrier as part of the building. This is, just the sections of the site based on the current orientation. And then this is the view also with the sections of the site, and then showing what the rear elevation, the bay that's projected on the existing portion of the building, and then our addition to the side with the garage that's camouflaged behind a trellis that visually breaks up the volume of it and also makes it more decorative, both on the garden side and also on the front street side, which I can take you to. So this is plan layout. This portion here is, and including part of this, is the existing building. And then this portion here is what's added. This is at the basement level. And then at first floor level, this here is the existing portion of the building. And then this is the cabana garage addition with the little connector between the two. Second floor is in the new portion is just the roof of the garage on which we're going to locate the air handler equipment. And then a future in-law room suite at whatever point they might need to move like an elderly parent or parents in for closer living. And just to the, so here is the front elevation. This is the portion of the building that is proposed to be demolished. And then below is the proposed addition. So this is the portion that's the cabana garage guest suite. And then the garage here, which is lower and again set behind a trellis structure so that it camouflages it and minimizes the impact of it on the elevation. And then side view here. This is the opposite side, which remains unchanged. And then the rear yard, which we saw in the section. As part of the work that was proposed and originally approved, the coverage of the existing property was already over by about, let's see what it was. It was existing over, I think, about 10%. And then we were previously, we had previously gotten approved an overage of over allowable of 29%. And as part of what we had to get approved by, or what we had previously gotten approved by zoning, we had scaled that back to 20.5%. And we've maintained in this new layout 20.4% over on the coverage.
Are you done with your presentation?
I think so, but I can address any questions or, I know there's
So
yes.
our main concern is actually on engineering's first comment, which is that we would like to see an overlay of showing how the plans have changed. And because our understanding of them
Mhm.
is that there were a number of small changes. But we want to make sure that we've captured all of them. It wasn't easy to discern them just by looking at the plans. It could be that it's an overlay, it could be that it's a narrative, but we would like to be told exactly how the new plans are different from the previously approved plans.
Right, we didn't initially submit an overlay of the two, thinking that it might be create more confusion. If it's helpful, I do have the drawing for the previously approved layout. I can bring that up to, I mean, we can still submit the overlay, but I can bring that up if we want to look at that, if that's helpful.
It'd be as much help as the overlay. You could do it with little bubbles that tell us what the changes are. But that's certainly what we'd like to see. That's what's reflected in engineering's first comment.
Okay, so do we want me to show you what was previously approved or not at this time?
I don't need to see that right now. I don't know about the other members. I'd rather see the overlay.
Only if we could see it side by side maybe, but I don't know how easy that will be.
Let me see if I can do that. If you can bear with me for a minute. I don't know if the. Oh, yeah, I don't know if it's gonna let me do a. Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna let me do a side by side. This is the,
Wait for the overlay.
Be too small
Yeah.
anyway.
We can wait for the overlay.
okay,
Colors.
No.
Do we have any other questions, Lori? Dan?
No, I agree with what you said and what Lori meant about the overlay.
Mike?
No question.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have any comments from the public?
Nobody's raising their hand to speak and there are no comments in the chat.
All right. So then we'll see you next month.
yes, with the overlay. So we should make that something that's more kind of diagrammatic so that it's clear.
Correct.
Okay,
I mean, you do have something that's been previously approved and they're working within the. We just want to make sure that you're working within the confines of what's been previously approved. Even though, as our understanding is, the changes are drawing this back closer to the house. So, which is otherwise fine. We just want to make sure that we understand all the changes.
sure.
Like the homeowner,
All right.
the homeowner would like to speak.
Okay.
Hi, this is Andres Irolmek. Thank you for taking the time to review the plans and working with us. Just for my understanding and just to be assured, it is our understanding that essentially we are reducing the scope of work and overall, within what we have planned to do before, we are doing less. And all in all, I think we are within the confines of what was approved before. And as you suggested, I think if I understand correctly, what you would like is for us to properly highlight to you what changed. And you want to be assured, this is for us to understand, to be assured that the scope and what we're doing doesn't go anywhere beyond what you already approved, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And other than that, do you foresee any other issues with what you've seen so far?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, it's just a lot of little changes I want to see.
Yeah, no, I
how
understand.
they-
Yeah.
We're not going to commit to a solid answer till we see the overlay.
No, I completely understand, of course. Without seeing the details, I get it. I just want to understand where you are at.
Nothing
And-
shocking has come out.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It's a lot of small changes, but you want to be assured and make sure that, nothing goes beyond. So it's all good. Perfect. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Number 4, 3 Gray Rock Terrace. Yes.
Good evening. Can you guys hear me, see me?
Yeah,
Yes,
Great, thank you. Let me just get this up on the screen. So James Kraft from Studio Park, representing for myself and for my own property as well, along with my wife Anastasia, my partner. We were before you the month before with our initial proposal for site plan approval. We were granted green light to go to ZBA and got their comments and quickly turned around comments back to you. We know we still have some work to do, but I wanted to present those today. In the ZBA meeting, as was brought up in your meeting, the ZBA questioned the volume of the coverage that we were asking for. We knew that we were over on coverage. And in the proposed addition, we went to ZBA. They asked us to sharpen our pencils. We did. And we came back with a proposal that's even lighter. So we presume that you will like that even more than you did the first time. So just to share my screen here. And I'll walk you through the changes that were made from ZBA back to you and the changes that we still need to address based upon Hans' comments. We're still working with trying to get our engineers and borings together. It's hard to get site engineers moving these days. So we still know that we need some work on our stormwater management, our survey elevations and some other things. We're gathering that information, but we're trying to advance things along through the process. So again, this is through Gray Rock Terrace. It's a dead end in Cedar Ridge. And we've seen a lot of this before, so I won't bore you, but I will show you what we did change wise. So the bulk of just to refresh your memory, the bulk of the addition proposed is this side yard area here in between the negative space of field point and our existing property. We're proposing a single floor addition at that point, and we're also reducing a bunch of other items to reduce our coverage. Previously, we had a proposed existing patio. You see right here. And an existing raised patio. The raised patio, after we got a more detailed survey, we actually found that it was partially in the rear setback, but we got a more detailed survey and realized it actually wasn't. Either way, we're proposing demolition of these two items to reduce our coverage. We're also proposing demolition of our front entry stairs or pathway to reduce that coverage as well. And what we're proposing back in kind is a proposed deck that is lowered, the proposed addition, which we discussed last time, and a new entryway. Now, we've made a couple of other minor reductions of hardscape in other places so that our coverage is less impactful than what's proposed. And what you'll find now, based upon Hans' comments, we've reduced our coverage by an additional 10%. While it is still over, and we've reduced our overall percentage over by 10% as well. So our total coverage over proposed now, we're only requesting in grand a whole addition of about 200 square feet after all of the items that we're removing. So at this time, we know we have still a lot of items to address. And we need to, of course, make ZBA happy with the proposal as well. But yeah, that was the bulk of the changes that we made to greatly reduce our coverage in a lot of areas. We also proposed a more detailed landscape plan that we need to resolve the comments that came from Susan Nolan as well, but they all seem like items that we can work through on both reviews, and that's the changes at this time. So I'm open to any questions or comments that you might have.
Lori, do you have any questions?
Can you explain the changes that you did with the stairs in the front?
Sure. Might be easiest to take a look. It's maybe not the best picture, but essentially everything's oversized. We've got stairs up, path across, path up. And what we're proposing is taking all the flat stairs and trading them in for a much smaller, less wide portion. I believe you can see here. So it's a little bit better on the landscape plan. We've chopped up a lot of our plans to make them more detailed in other spots. So what we've done is we've left the existing stairs at the front of the house, and then removed, frankly, what is a pretty bad shape bluestone patio that probably needs to be replaced to begin with. Sorry, scroll too far. And then what we're proposing is putting in a paver in a mulch or planted bed, something like this. Can you see this image?
Yes.
Yeah, we're proposing doing something like that and weaving it more naturally into our existing landscape, rather than just having pavers on concrete. That's just to make things more natural in the front, keep it lighter, and remove impervious surface.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay. And I mean, it looks very pretty. Do you feel that it'll be functional for you as well? Like, you're happy with that?
I mean,
Nice.
I love the look of it. It's a little more maintenance personally on my own end, which I'll more than likely be doing. But that being said, for the sake of other work that we have to do, I think it's going to weave very nicely into the landscape. It's frankly, I'd love to change a lot of the hardscape. It's just, it's existing and everything takes, time, money, effort, right? So, but.
I mean, I think you've made a lot of compromises, and I appreciate your getting the overage down. I just also want to make certain that they're convenient and that they actually work for you overall.
Right. I mean, I would suggest, we want full disclosure. We want to put our best foot forward to the ZBA because the numbers, as we know, the existing lot is a little undersized and all of Cedar Ridge is tough. So we wanted to do the best we can. I mean, we eliminated an entire patio and a lot of other areas. I mean, I would prefer to have some more, frankly, but for the sake of the other things that we need, we're willing to make these sacrifices. So.
And then instead of the patio, what goes in there? Grass?
Grass, just grass and planting bed. Presently, right now, the only reason why we have like 2 patios is the one patio is really awkwardly elevated and it doesn't have to be. So just to show, like you can see here in this picture, like it's very disjointed. We have 2 similar sized surfaces. And what we're doing is bringing this down and making it like just a couple steps above this and hopefully opening up the backyard. It's very, as you can see, it's very tight back here. There's not a lot of daylight that gets into it. And so essentially what we're proposing, and if I can hit the architectural real quickly, rather than, here's the old patio on the first floor, here's the raised patio and the steps up. And what we're proposing in kind is just grass out that previous door and then a deck of a slightly smaller size, which is enough for us to put all of our, dining and such on top of it. So presently that elevated deck too it's concrete on metal deck on top of like 18-inch piers. It's totally, and it's frankly pushing water into my house because it's pitched poorly. So, we're hoping that this change, although it is coverage too, this is also a semi-permeable deck. It's going to be open joint, 1/8 inch with a gravel bed underneath it. So we're hoping it's going to percolate a little bit better than it does now. Frankly, all of Gray Rock Terrace is a bit of a water issue, and we're hoping that that helps as well. So.
Thank you.
No problem.
Dan, any questions?
Basically, it's roughly a 200 square 200 square feet that you're reducing from the overall?
No. We're essentially asking for 200 in total with the addition and all of our reductions. So if we just were, you know, apples for apples, we're looking for 200 more than today's present square footage. And a lot of those changes came from removing that existing patio, reducing the existing raised patio, altering walkways, and just making everything more porous everywhere else. We also shrunk the addition a little bit, just shrunk everything proposed. As ZBA requested, just sharpened our pencils.
Okay, yeah, they seem to ask for a reduction of scale, so seemingly you did obviously do your homework.
Tried. And we frankly turned this around very quickly too. So we know that there's stuff that we have to do. Like this, a lot of these changes came 24 hours after ZBA because of the deadline. So we know we still have work to do.
No further questions. Thank you.
Mike?
None for me.
No questions. All right. So I assume that you believe that this is going to pass muster at the ZBA.
We hope so.
Okay.
That's the target.
I mean, since we previously had allowed them to go to the ZBA on the side of the larger project, I'm certainly in favor of allowing them to go to the ZBA on this one.
Absolutely.
I
Right,
agree.
Dan?
I concur. Yep.
Mike?
Yep.
All right,
I appreciate it.
you'll be able to go.
Thank you. And I hope that this satisfies them as well. And we can come back and resolve this in total.
But before we leave, I have to ask Sarah if there's any comments from the public.
There is nobody raising their hand to speak and there are no comments in the chat.
All right, Ed, we get,
Getting better.
all right. All right, good luck.
You know Caesar.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We'll see you in a couple.
That's because he's got 10 years on.
Just, let's be polite.
All righty. Next up, 33 Osceola Avenue.
I'm back. Okay. Matthew Behrens, representing the applicant, the Sawney family at 33 Osceola Avenue. This is an application that I think dates back to the November meeting. We came back in December to address a few comments. And it was at that meeting that it was requested that we do some research into what had been previously approved, which was not easy to do. The documentation dates back, I believe, to 1988. So what documentation was on file was scarce and hard to read. It did not mention, so let me back up a little bit, sorry. One of the things this application is to legalize an existing concrete patio that was installed around this pool. It's about 1,000 square feet and exceeds the coverage requirement for this zone. It also, as you can see here, I'll see if I can point this out. A section of the patio extends into an existing sewer easement. So there are a number of issues with this application. This was done, it was prior to the current owners, but they are trying to get the legalization complete. So at the November and December meetings, the board raised a few of these issues and specifically requested that we do this research about what had been previously approved. As part of the pool application, there was no mention of a patio, and the hand sketch that we were able to find in the files did not mention a patio. So, but the information from this grainy hand sketch perhaps indicated that there may have been a patio. We're speculating, but we're including it because it was pretty specific request from the board. So we've taken a look at that. I've approximated the line of the previous patio from that grainy sketch. And it's about 300 square feet, 298, based on what I could discern. So I've updated the zoning chart to include the previously approved patio. It has been removed. It is no longer there. The current patio, I'm calling it, which is the undocumented patio, again, is about 1,000 square feet. And then what we're also doing is we're removing this section of the patio that lies within the easement. So it's a general reduction of 174 square feet. So the total coverage is 529 square feet over the assumed previously approved patio of 298, if that makes sense.
I think it does.
Right. Yep, so you can, as you can see by the proposed total, we are way over the allowable of 2,433. So this is going to be a difficult request to the zoning board. But again, it is existing and we are minimizing what has been built, again, predating the current owner.
So from my perspective, I certainly appreciate that you removed the section of the patio that's over the easement. That was the biggest concern of ours, and that you were the attempted figuring out what the previously approved patio square footage was. For myself, I'd be all right having them go to the ZBA with this. Obviously, you recognize it'll be maybe a difficult sell, but that pool is existing, and there are stormwater issues that you'll have to address later.
Correct.
Lori, any questions?
No, I just wonder, like, given the zoning issues, did you want to try and take any more of the patio out, or you'd rather go to them and get comments?
Yeah, thanks, Lori. I think at this point, the owner is willing to remove some more, but you know, taking out that almost 200 square feet of what's there now is a lot for them. We have to manage, you know, how we repair that back. The area around the patio now is all gravel. So we'd have to replace that section with gravel. I think they'd like to minimize the impact if it's possible. But again, I think they are willing to do that if that's a concession from the zoning board.
Thank you.
No
Okay.
questions at this point.
All right, Mike,
No questions.
what about having them go to the ZBA on the basis of this?
I mean, I think it's worth a try to get zoning to put their 2 cents in.
Do you think that?
Well, coverage might be an issue, but that's for the ZBA to determine and see what other things might have to be done to be in compliance with the coverage.
Mike, any thoughts?
That seems reasonable.
Okay. Sarah, any comments from the public?
Nobody's raising their hand to speak and there are no comments in the chat.
All right. So I'd be in favor of letting them go to the ZBA.
I agree.
We all agree? So, all right. Good luck before the ZBA.
Thank you again.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Have a good night. Thank you.
Number 6, 11 Dunham Place.
Hello again, good evening. James Krapp representing Erica and Jared Maltz for 11 Dunham Place. This has not been before you. This is a new matter and the first time that you're seeing it. I will share my screen and give you guys a quick overview. So Dunham Place is a cul-de-sac or a wraparound just off Harriman Road, right across from Lewis. And this is right off the tail end of that. So it's what you see right when you're coming down Dunham Place, just to orient you a little bit. So what we're proposing is the majority of the structures in this area, or a lot of the structures in this area, are the same mid-century modern single story that's been reconfigured a bunch of different ways. A lot have additions, some don't. A lot of them have garages, some don't, and some have been converted. This property was previously converted and garages were removed. So presently, what you see, just to walk you through the neighborhood a little bit. So we already showed you where it is. So presently, this is what you see as you get to the end of Dunham Place. In this area right here, this would have been previous garage, which you can see a lot of other iterations. So that would have been this area right here. So just walking you around the house, this will help you a little bit. This is the rear yard configuration. You can see this is their neighbor next door, where that, again, that double car garage area would be L-shaped mid-century. Again, garage, L-shaped mid-century. Other ones on Harriman. Another mid-century on the other side on Meadow Way. And this is also further down Meadow Way, which is an L with also reconfigured double garages. So the proposal that we're putting in place here is to bring back one of those garage bays, and then also put a minor addition on the first floor and the second floor over top of that garage bay. So I will walk you through that now. So presently is similar to a lot of the homes in this region. Coverage is a bit of an issue, not as much of an issue as what you actually saw on the property I just previously spoke of. But they were just slightly over before the property was even purchased. So some of the items that you see here are noted as refurbished, proposed, or new, mostly because they were over to start with as per request, and we know that that's the case. What we're proposing at this time, just to show you the area, is this is the existing drive we were just looking at. This is the proposed old garage area. We're proposing an addition off the rear. And then subsequently, an addition on the second floor over top of that partial rear. In addition to that, we're proposing trying to get the vehicles themselves out of the dead center of the view of the street and of the public and of the owners, and trying to do a parking bay off to the side in the side yard. A little bit of retaining. We're still working on getting full topographic survey and site engineering. So we know we still have a lot of issues to deal with as opposed to site engineering. So we know that this is still a work in progress as well. And if we march forward, I'll show you a little bit of the architectural and just to get to this, because I'm sure there'll be questions about coverage. The existing property is in about the center of regional coverage for the IF20 zoning. Now this is a mixed zoning area, IF20, 10, and 40, because just across the street is 40 and Meadow Way is much smaller lots. For certain areas of like along Meadow Way and Hillside Terrace, the properties are way over on coverage. We're right in the middle at Dunham Place, and the proposal to increase is still well under what a lot of the neighbors have already done. So we hope that that's satisfactory. FAR is not an issue. There's plenty of FAR to be had on the property, and the addition is not large. So what you see here, this is the southwest elevation, or kind of the front. The property is kind of like 45 degrees to the street. So it kind of has two fronts, one front here, one front here. We're proposing demolishing the existing space for a new garage bay. Just to go to the first floor. So basically this is an old rec room, bedroom, laundry room area. We're proposing a garage bay on the existing slab. The slab is there, or we believe it's there. And then we're proposing this addition out the back, about 350 square feet on the ground. And then a new staircase up to a primary bedroom, primary bathroom. And that addition looks somewhat like this from the street, essentially matching existing roof pitches, bringing in elements, mid-century elements and modern elements, still working through architectural issues, but that's the general bulk and massing. And then the rear yard addition as well. That's structural. So overall, what we're asking for is somewhat concession on coverage, which is in keeping with a lot of the other properties in the neighborhood. And then subsequently, as it was noted in Hans' comments, we will also be requesting a side yard variance for the retaining and the parking being considered in the front. I wasn't sure if this was considered front based upon the wedge-like shape of the property, but we still think this is the best place that we can put parking potentially out of the way of the front door. But those are the things that we will hopefully be requesting from the ZBA if you're happy with the proposal at hand. And I look forward to questions and comments that you might have.
So let me ask this question to Ed and Doug. Doug, am I correct that the house sits in a floodplain and that the proposed addition and the driveway at least can't be built the way it's proposed?
That, as a general statement, correct. James, you have to read our floodplain ordinance. It's not a buffer. It's in the floodplain for most of it. Okay, so once you lay or overlay the watercourse and the floodplain lines and then the buffers, we can have a more specific talk, but you can't eliminate. We've never approved eliminating flood area. So there's some engineering feats for non-habitable space where the water can go through, like a garage or a barn, but not a house. So if you want to sit and meet with me this week, that's fine. Even the parking area, not so much the variances for the parking. You don't need a front yard. I don't think you need a front yard variance, but you do need. The problem is you're grading and making more non-pervious surface in a floodplain in those parking spaces. So even the parking spaces are a bit of a problem. Come sit with me. I'll walk you through it.
Noted. We understand that it's an issue to deal with the water one way or another.
It's a lot bigger issue than you've seen here before. There's not many people have tried to put stuff in the floodplain, just in the buffers. This one isn't. It's most likely most of it in the floodplain.
I believe the bulk of the property sits that way no matter what, right?
Well, it's maybe we get a piece of buffer, maybe you can elevate, maybe you can take a program that has more of a second floor look than a first floor look. That's still an avenue for your if you look for more space.
Noted. Well, we're still working on getting full survey to understand everything as well, Ed. So
okay, why don't you have the surveyor put the FEMA floodplain on your map with it. It makes it easier for you.
noted.
I think until that's addressed, it doesn't really serve any purpose for us to ask you any more questions about this proposal, because I think this proposal is going to have to change. But
Well, I guess can I ask one question just as a recourse? No matter what is happening one way or another, we will have to be seeking relief in question, right? Like no matter what is happening being proposed, like 1 square foot of requesting anything would need relief related to this property, correct?
Relief as far as coverage or floodplain?
Yeah, just anything really, right?
So there's no relief in floodplain, there's mitigation.
Noted. Okay. We'll talk through it in more detail, Ed, and see how we can work around it.
all right,
Just question, do the homeowners have any water issues right now?
Presently, there's a crawl space underneath everything, and it does have a sump pump that's running fairly consistently, as almost everything down underneath these properties. We're not proposing anything below grade. We're proposing slab on grade or any sort of mitigation around that. We're not proposing anything lower, which is why we're coming out of the ground to begin with. The problems are, they're being handled below grade, but they're not perfect. So.
Thank you.
Dan, do you have any comments?
I'm in agreement with you, obviously, that the floodplain issue has to be addressed first.
Mike?
Yeah, this might be a question for you guys. Are all of the changes and requests of coverage in a floodplain or just?
It's assumed until he puts it on the map.
Okay,
Yeah,
That's
I
pretty
mean,
much.
It's like the whole lot.
the whole lot is it?
that's why I was making the comment to essentially say like
Yeah.
any work beyond the existing.
Well, that's, I mean, you could put things on top of other things.
Second.
Yeah.
New,
You
it's
can
new
put,
coverage.
you can put piers as long as the structure is 2 feet above the floodplain. We'll go over that and
Can't reduce
Noted.
the volume.
We're aware of some of the mitigation measures, but we want to see, you know, some
Gotcha.
of them are more challenging than others.
yes.
All right. Sarah, any comments from the public?
Nobody's raising their hand to speak and there are no comments in the chat.
All right.
We took 6 applications.
All right, James, you got your work cut out for you.
Nothing we can't handle.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening.
You too. And our last for the evening, 202 Hermits Road.
Good evening, members of the board. Dave Barbuti, architect, representing Dr. and Mrs. Joyce at 202 Hermits Road. If I may, I'd like to share my screen, if I remember how to do this. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet. Can we see it now?
Yes.
Okay.
Your menu.
Can you see a drawing?
No
Nope.
drawings, yeah.
How about now?
Yeah.
No. Great.
One more try.
Sorry about that, guys.
Okay.
Can we see it now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, good evening. So this application has been in front of the board back in 2021 with the previous property owners. The new property owners reached out to me because they would like to construct the same 3-car garage as the previous owners. This garage is 864 square feet. It's a 24 by 34 foot 3-car garage. And it's tucked on the northeastern side of the property. That site was selected because of basically it fit the best location on the property. It is a 1-story structure. As part of speaking with the adjacent property owner years ago, we dropped the height of the structure. We created a berm that separates near the property line of the adjacent property owner to try to screen the garage. We relocated some drainage to the back portion of the property. So I think that, we try to hit most of the points that were concerns of the neighbors from the previous application. I have seen that the adjacent property owner sent the letter in. I've reviewed that, basically touches on some of the bullet points that I spoke about. And I did see that Mr. Han's office had also sent in some comments to the board. Pretty straightforward, and those can be addressed rather quickly. I also saw a comment from, I believe, Miss Nolan, landscape architect. Once again, some of those items can be addressed pretty straightforward. One of the comments is that the size of the berm should be reduced and modifying with some additional plantings in its place. So as I said, that's pretty an easy thing to do. And if the board has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Can you show us what was the changes that you're making from the previously approved plan? Where was the garage previously proposed?
So the garage, I believe, was in the same location. That
Okay.
didn't change. It may have been scooched a little bit, to the left or to the right, but for the most part, I don't think it's changed locations since the last time I was at the board back in 2021.
What has changed?
Excuse me.
So what has changed? If
So
anything?
basically what we did was we dropped the pitch of the roof. So we went from an 8-on-12 to a 5-on-12 to make a much shallower roof.
What was the previous roof proposed and what's the current roof proposed?
So the previous roof that was proposed was a gable roof at an 8-on-12 pitch. So it was much
You left-
steeper.
We no longer see the plan.
So what I was,
This is the menu that we see right now.
okay, do you see the partial rendering?
No,
No.
No, all right,
Just a list of documents.
all right.
Was the previous plan was approved? Not approved?
No,
Not approved.
not-
There's some-
it wasn't rejected. There were issues with it and then they didn't come back.
Okay.
Correct.
There's-
Correct, because the parcel went up for sale and then it was subsequently sold. So like I said, the location of the garage is for the most part the same as the last time we were at the board. The stormwater location is the same location that we were at the board. The major change, as I said, was the slope of the roof.
And that, I just want to see an illustration of that.
An illustration of the change between the two roof
differences.
pitches?
Correct.
Okay, I mean, I can provide that. I think in your packet, there is a rendering because looking from the neighbor's property towards where this would be. And based on the 5-on-12 pitch, you see a very, very shallow, very small portion of the roof. In the packet, I think it's the one that has the neighbor's shed.
Can you see the what was proposed
No,
before?
it's just showing us But this is the new.
Ask for
code.
pencil
This is
line
the
for
new.
next month.
I don't have the old with me.
You don't have the old,
I don't
okay.
have it with me for the meeting.
I thought
But I
maybe
can
I
certainly-
was missing something. All right. I have no further questions. Lori?
Yeah, so it appears that there's a neighbor who's very concerned about the water issues. I don't know if you are planning to address that in more detail or what the actual situation is.
So I'm not quite sure. That's the first I heard that they had water issues. So when I believe I first started this project and we did a reconstruction of the house, there was an existing dwelling here. I filed for permits, I believe it was 2014 or 15. Basically the footprint really didn't change. We did a little addition over here. The driveway was always the driveway. The front entrance changed, but I'm not quite sure how any of that impacted them with additional, drainage. I mean, we do have, subsurface drainage in the back that was part of the original plan from 2015. So that kind of perplexes me. Because that's the
Can you
first.
show
I've
us how
ever
you're
heard of it.
addressing the new drainage?
Excuse me?
Because yes, show us how you're addressing the new structures drainage.
Sure.
Maybe
So-
where the water runs currently.
So the neighboring, the adjacent neighbor is where my cursor is right now, to the north, proposed garage. We are proposing to run a new drainage line, hug the side of the building towards the rear of the property. So, and locate new Coltech units at the rear of the property, further south. So those drainage units would be roughly 80 feet away from the garage.
And on the other side of the house from the neighbor.
Correct. I mean, my septic system is on the western side of the property with the expansion area.
I don't have any concerns. They're taking the water from one area, bringing it to another, and the overflow goes in the complete opposite direction.
Correct.
That would address any flooding.
Essentially, they're taking that area out of what would generally pitch to the house. I mean, there's a high point right on the right side. It's 102.
Correct.
And it currently pitches towards the house, but they're gonna take that area and pipe it to infiltration on the opposite side that would overflow away from everything.
You're saying it currently pitches to the neighbor's house?
Yeah, there's a 102 contour
Yeah.
and it pitches to the, what is that, north right to their
Yes.
house. And so by them piping it the way that it's going away from the house. So that square footage that currently goes towards the house is gonna go away from the house. So it's gonna essentially reduce the amount of runoff to that direction. I didn't take a look at the letter. I'll take a look at the letter again.
The letter said something about the drainage going uphill.
I skimmed, I was only skimmed
Yeah.
through it before, so I didn't really get a chance to go through, but. I mean, essentially, it's going through a high point. It goes to 102 or just to the right of that is the high point, so. It would be going through the high point, but it's pitched downhill and it goes down to a 96 on the south side of the property. So it's pitched downhill. It may appear that it would be going up a hill, but it's just gonna be deeper into the hill. I'll look at the letter again, there's.
Okay, no more questions.
Dan,
I have no questions.
Mike?
So there's no coverage or setback issues? This is really, okay,
No, it's a pretty big lot.
no questions.
I think we have to see you next month anyway, because you have to address on engineering's comments and Suzanne's comments.
Correct.
So, and Doug will be able to take a look at the letter. And see, make sure we don't have any other water runoff issues.
Okay, and you would
And we have-
also like,
And-
to submit the previous elevations with the steeper roof?
And a pencil line over the, showing where you reduced it.
Okay. Okay.
Sarah, do we have any comments from the public?
Yes, we have somebody raising their hand to speak. John Elwin. David Hooper.
All right,
Hey, guys.
hey,
Can you
John?
hear- Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. Hey, David, thanks a lot. And
How are you?
just a few points of clarification. You've seen my letter. So let's just for everybody, I'm John Elwin. I live at 204 Hermits Road, which is to the west and downhill from this property, about a drop of about 10 or 12 feet. I've lived there for 32 years. The house that was torn down was previously my mother-in-law's house. So I'm very familiar with the property and all the detail there. So what's happened is, and I don't know, although David's correct in that the footprint of the house is not significantly larger than it was, when the reconfiguration and rebuilding of the house took place, we have experienced increased water flow from that property, whether it's the pitch of the driveway, whether it's the fact that the entire backyard was disrupted for the new septic field. We're not sure what, but we are experiencing more runoff from that property than we had for the previous 28 years that we were there. And our septic field is only about 60 or 70 feet from where this proposed garage is and this area. So we have heightened concern based on our current experience. So when Dave and I first met, and when this was first proposed, the original proposal, although David has said it's as is for the infiltration in the backyard, it wasn't. The infiltration was proposed about 30 feet to the east, I believe, of the proposed garage. And although the survey showed that it might reasonably accept percolation, when David and I went to the site, we realized it's all ledge rock there, so it was not feasible. So I appreciate the fact that David's come up with a unique solution to moving the infiltration to the backyard and piping, but I just want to make sure that we have a heightened review of this proposed piping away from the structure. It seems to me that there's two 4-inch leaders running to a 6-inch pipe that runs 80 to 100 feet to the backyard. And there doesn't appear to be, and again, I'm not an engineer, there doesn't appear to be, I don't know whether that's a Y or a T, there doesn't appear to be any kind of a juncture at the garage to manage the flow. So if an engineer could have a look at that and give an opinion, that would be great, just conveying the water off the garage into the pipe. I also note on this same page, the stormwater management plan, point number 1 states that no pipe or conveyance shall be less than 10 feet from any property line or face of any structure. Yet this runs, I think, a couple of feet away from, again, I think that's the eastern or eastern side of under those steps that you see on the plan. So again, if the very first note is it should be more than 10 feet, yet it is only a couple of feet, that'd be reasonable to get an explanation for that. As far as water running uphill, again, since I'm very familiar with the property, the topology that's aligned here, where you see the 102 and then the 96 which in the backyard, which is the bottom of the infiltration, that area where it says the 100 line that comes off kind of the back of the house, that means that everything in between the 100 and the 102 line, it could be up to 101 and 11 inches. So just from my experience and knowing this property, where the garage is placed, it appears to me that that pipe will have to go uphill to get past the house. So my request would be to have a little bit more detail on the elevations than what is on this map, since it's so critical to this plan. So, and lastly, again, I'm laser focused on making sure the drainage is taken care of. The last point, number 12, in the notes, has a maintenance plan, and I'd like to understand ultimately in some sort of a written response how that management plan is policed and what happens in recourse if we have a failure or the management plan is not maintained. So those are my comments about the drainage. And I don't think I can get the genie back in the bottle for the other things we're experiencing. I just can't afford to let it get worse. So Dave, I'm going to stop. I have a couple other points, but I'd like to stop there and get whatever feedback you'd like to give or from the board.
Sure. So generally, so let's start. So your piping isn't going uphill. Basically, when I go from 100, let's say at the garage, and I have to transverse across the 102, the pipe goes deeper in the ground. So at 100, let's say it's 3 feet below grade. When you get to the 102 point, you're going to be, 5 feet below grade. And
since it's all ledge there, then you cut into the rock. Is that the idea?
That's correct.
Against the foundation, 2 feet away from the foundation?
Well, along the foundation, it's not ledge rock.
Yeah, I have photographs of that exposed area, and I'm pretty sure it is. So I'd check that as well, David. I wouldn't assume that that's not ledge rock along that foundation.
Okay. I mean, it's, easy enough for me to take the pipe, slide it away from the building. I do see the note that says the pipe needs to be 5 feet away from the building. And
the note here says 10, so maybe I'm mistaken.
Piping and other conveyance structures.
That's generally for infiltration.
Yeah, that's not
Correct.
for
I
the
was just
piping,
so I was just going to say that. So New York State DEC best practice management book basically says that your drainage structures need to be 10 feet away from any structure, retaining wall, etc., and 5 feet away from any property lines.
Yeah. Okay.
So the piping's the piping. I mean, so generally what happens is, we don't know what's there. I mean, if you have pictures, please share them with me that there's ledge rock there. From experience, I know when they dug the piers for the wood stairs off the east side of the property, that I don't think they hit rock at that point. That's the only reason why we hugged it close to the house.
I got it. Yeah. So again, based on my knowledge in the photos, I'm happy to send those to you.
Okay, I'd appreciate that.
Dave, maybe it'd be helpful to have some watershed boundaries on there so you could see what direction the water's going, where the water's going.
Okay.
on what was on the plans, on the site plan.
So again, if we have, I assume that there's an engineering review of this, and I just ask that they take a laser focused look at the way that the piping is done. And again, my last question about the maintenance of this and the recourse in the event of a failure. Any comments on that from the board or from?
Maintenance is the responsibility of the homeowner.
Okay.
I mean, ultimately, it's, you know, it's a maintenance thing that either the homeowner does or the homeowner hires his landscaper that once a year, you know, there are inspection ports on the units. So they go in, they see what's there. I believe there's also a pre-treatment basin that we have that generally gets, you know, opened up, looked at, you know, any debris is cleaned out of it. So, but like, as Mr. Marin said, that's generally, you know, on the property owners.
Okay. So is it reasonable to have a pre-treatment area at the garage? Again, I'm focused in on just two 4-inch leaders going into a single pipe.
Well, what you have to realize is that wherever I have an intersection of pipe, there is a clean out.
Okay.
So it gets unscrewed, they clean it out, they can snake it.
Yeah,
and
it doesn't show that
and-
on the plan. I get it.
There is a clean out right at the intersection of the 4-inch PVC and the 6-inch,
Okay.
right at the intersection. And generally they're put every 50 feet. We usually put that note on here, but I don't see that, but I will make sure that I have at least one other clean out in between the span going towards the infiltrators. So I would say halfway, so along the house at that point.
Okay. So there was a request I heard from the board about having some sort of a view of the runoff. Is that?
Yeah, what I asked for is to show where the separate, where the watershed boundary is. So
Oh,
you
okay.
see what area drains to what direction.
Went up too long.
Yeah, it's a little misleading because the driveway intersects the watershed line. And it's a break in the watershed, meaning the water gathers on the impervious surfaces in front of the Joyce's house. And it has a straight shot across the boundary line of the watershed line and comes in a sluice along the driveway down.
Look at it when it's on the, when it's on the plan.
Excuse me?
We'll take a look at it once it's on the plan. It's hard to have that
Once-
conversation.
Okay, so I would just say, if we're gonna show that, then this plan needs to include the extension of the watershed line to where it crosses the common driveway, which is on the left-hand side of this, but not.
We asked for the line to be shown on the plan for what's here.
Yeah, but the plan, Ed, doesn't include the area that I'm questioning where the water is running.
John, this application, the planning board's in charge of this application, not you.
I get it. I'm just
We asked
asking.
for them to put, John,
Yeah.
it's right there. It's on that plan. He's got it on his plan already.
Okay. So but that wasn't the plan that was in front of me. So that's why I was questioning it.
I understand.
No, what I did was I switched the plan because it's easier to see at a.
I got it. Yeah, right there where there's a crooked line where it bends at 90 degrees.
Right here.
There, right there. That's where it comes across and down into my backyard. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I heard, David, I think I know what is being asked and you understand my concerns. And I will get you the photograph that I have of the ledge that I think may be in your way. Okay, that will help you. Okay.
Appreciate that.
Now, I overheard before that there may have been a comment from one of the reviewers that the berm would be reduced in some way. Is there a way for me to understand what effect that will have on your proposed mitigation and the renderings that you did of my property? Where you have the plantings and the berm to help with the view and the screen?
John, our landscape architect has identified that there's fill being put on the roots of the mature trees. And that needs to be relocated. You'll see it when we see it.
Okay. So it'll come back, Ed, in a plan from David based on the comments that came in.
Correct.
All right, very good. All right. And then lastly, David, again, as we discussed and I've had in my prior letters, is there any way to encourage the homeowner to consider a 2-car garage versus 3-car? Or as you may remember, Caesar and Ed specifically asked during the last meeting that a response be given by you about the locations that were considered that are alternative to this location and why they were deselected or not selected And I don't
That's
think.
not being asked at this time, John.
Yeah, okay, so moving on from that, I did, in my letter to you, David, back in 2021, and in a recent letter to the homeowners, ask them whether they consider an attached garage, which would have a lot of benefits to the homeowner, although it'd be 2 or 2.5 car garage versus 3. It would be a tremendous benefit to the homeowner and would relieve a lot of the issues that we see from a view shed and a drainage standpoint, because it would be moved back to basically to where those steps are coming off. And again, I know you, I assume, David, that you've seen my rendering in the proposal.
Right. So the problem that there was locating, because when I first.
You're not asking for that, David.
I understand that, but I will address it.
Take it offline with him. The board's got a lot of other things to do.
Okay.
Anything else, Mr. Elwin?
No further comments, Ed. I'll take it up with Mr. Barbuti, and we'll see if we can come up with a better solution here.
Thank you for your input.
Thanks.
Any more comments from the
All
board?
right, no, any other comments? Nope, we're done. See you next month, or,
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.
all right, thank you.
Anyone will-
And
You have to adjourn.
I know, with that, we are adjourned.